Hello there, guys, and welcome back to Reborn with Michael. Today I'm talking about my own healing journey. I really want to go into massive detail on this today, so it may be a slightly longer video, but a lot of you have asked me, how did I heal from the hair loss, the chronic pain, the digestive issues and all this? Well, I think it's best for me to start from how it actually happened. From understanding how it happened is how I healed, So before I go into it, if you like Spirituality Simplified, please consider sharing and subscribing. I've just seen that only 38% of you who watch are subscribed, so come jump on board. It's a real wonderful community. Check it out in the comments. Just beautiful people. Comment down below, guys. Let's start a conversation. Where are you on your healing journey? And how can I help more? Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new deal again. I usually, all my courses together would be £520. I'm actually going to do all of my courses for over half price. Check that out. That will be in the description. I've just decided that now. So I just want to help people out there who need a bit of support. So I'm going to make sure that it's available at a great price so you can all connect with it. Anyway, guys, let's just talk. Let's just talk about this. So the first thing was, let's start from the beginning. So for those of you who don't know, many of you will know this because I've spoken about it, but in my previous life and career, I was an actor. I was an actor in my biggest claim to fame was playing Frankie Valli in Jersey Boys in the West End. What happened on that show was I took the show on at a young age of 24. I joined as the understudy. In that year, I had become a little bit neurotic anyway, just because I was not on stage every night and I got a bit lost in my own thoughts. But here's the thing. By the end of that year, I said to the people there, they said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to play the role or I'm leaving. And at that point, it was like a big change in my life because I was going to change agents. And if that didn't work, I was going to go for some TV. I was going to take some time out. So it was like a big thing. It's either I'm going to get the biggest role of my life or I'm going to make an absolute change. And I think what happened was I started to face that dilemma of uncertainty. I didn't have the tools at the time, even though I believed in manifestation. I didn't cultivate the inner world enough to have the tools to deal with that uncertainty. Then what happened was I auditioned and they were very interested in me, but I should have found out that I got the role months and months before the contract ended and rehearsal started, but they kept waiting because there was something they wanted to do. The film was coming out of Jersey Boys. I'll go into detail. So I didn't know this at the time, but they wanted the actor from the film, an original Broadway star, to come and do an initial 6 weeks. Why they couldn't tell me that, I would have dealt with that fine anyway. They could have said, well, we're going to try and get him to do that, and if we can't, then you start immediately. But if not, you're going to take over after 6 weeks. That would have been fine with me, but they didn't. So it took me up to 2 weeks before the end of the contract. And this, I should have known about 4 months before the end of the contract. And then 2 weeks before rehearsal started. I mean, honestly, it was just, and in that time, I'd become so neurotic and worried. I started obsessing over my hair. I started to get very concerned. And what happened was, then I started to get, it was announced, and then there were people that were upset that the original actor in London was leaving. So I would get Twitter abuse from there. Now, just to jump on from my experience now, I go into detail in a minute, but to jump from my experience now, if you do something in life, guys, and you start to get haters, like I can get hate comments on here, but don't ever now see it as nothing more but a compliment that you are doing something that's worthy to be seen. Do you hear what I'm saying when I say that? So don't fear comments from people that you don't know. It's because you're doing something worthy of its kind. We live in a world now where everyone can comment and can get to you because of social media. So see hate comments as a sign that you are doing something great. Okay. Anyway, moving on. So they were upset that their original guy had done it for 5 years was leaving, and they kept saying the show's going to close because of me. you know, the show, and it's so outrageous, really, when you think about it. But anyway, the point being, I was a 25-year-old kid, you know, and it just really took me in. It was only a few people, but they were on top of it. And if I'm actually honest, I believe there was probably someone in the cast that was creating fake accounts, because I had a lot of people that were hating on me for getting that opportunity over them. I won't go into any more detail on that anyway, but it's because it's meaningless. But the point being is, I started to get very self-conscious and stressed. I started to worry about my hair, and I went and got that checked out at a big place in London called Belgravia, and they said, you're going to lose it all. So that added to my fear. I thought, by the end of this contract, I'm going to have no hair. I'm going to be the bald Frankie Valli. I mean, it sounds so meaningless now, but that was making me very stressed. Okay. And I kept getting sick. But I started rehearsals. During that rehearsals, they said to me, just before rehearsals, they were like, come and do this thing in front of all the producers. We're going to take you over to Ireland to sing this thing. And I had such a tension in me, and I sang and sang and sang all that day. And I actually eventually strained a muscle in my throat badly, to the point where for a number of weeks leading up to rehearsals and up to it, I couldn't sing, like literally couldn't sing. So you got to imagine, I'm about to take on the best role of my life. No, I've been told I'm losing my hair. Had this vocal injury, and was just in deep stress and turmoil. Now, this then I started to go to someone who was brilliant, actually. He was a psychologist and a voice specialist, you know, he used to do vocal massage. He definitely helped me through that, along with my vocal coach. But that trauma stuck with me for a while. So we eventually got rid of the throat issue there. But what happened was there was a residual just ache and pain in my throat all the time from this point on. Now, I overcame it after about 6 months into the contract. I was flying. But what happened was, and this is pure transparency, I did a misdemeanor against someone by accident. You know, someone I cared about. I hurt them, you know, I just hurt them. Anyway, the point being is that from that point, I definitely started to punish myself even more. So I look back now, and then the throat pain and everything intensified. Now, I hurt them, and rather than going into detail of what that was, because it doesn't really matter at this point now, I felt I'd hurt them. That's what the most important part was. So I started to punish myself, you know, and so from there it just snowballed. So I punished myself. I started to worry and question if I was good enough, and I just always was in my head. What happened was, so the chronic throat pain, the hair loss, and now the even more deeper issues started to get strong stomach issues. So I couldn't eat anything that I liked, you see. So just like many of the videos with Joe Dispenza and everything like that, I started to create a cage where I took everything in life that was nice and I started to get rid of it. Not consciously, but through the self-hatred that I'd started to create in myself. So I started to get rid of the joy of singing, the joy of performing, which was my absolute joy, why I got into it. I got rid of all the foods that I couldn't eat, the foods that I liked anymore. So I couldn't eat, I couldn't even eat prawns, chicken. I'm sure it was and then it was nuts, gluten, dairy, basically pretty much everything. So I'd created a prison for myself where there was no joy allowed. And you see how that came, because I started to get so stressed in life. So as a protective measure, my body started to try and take away everything that I just was punishing myself to take away everything that was joyful. So I couldn't eat. I had chronic pain. I couldn't recognize myself without pain. And I was so scared about losing my hair and all of this. And that's when I started to study, because I'd had enough. Now, I couldn't heal myself throughout the whole time of Jersey Boys. And actually, in my second year, I had a full burnout where I had to take about a month out. I couldn't get my mind around it whilst in the show. I'm going to be real with you. That's why I've decided to discover this even in even more nature, so I can help people so they don't have to go through burnout. But here's what, through pure effort and determination, I saw myself through to the end of that show. And, had some wonderful moments, but pain. So I'd lost everything basically at this point. I hadn't made good choices. I'd met the love of my life, but didn't actually take the action required at the time. But now we're married, so it's all worked out. Hey, but the point being is I just was silly in all areas of life because I was just punishing, couldn't allow good. How did I heal it though? Well, I started to study. So the first book I read was Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, because I was like, do you know what? If I can change my genetics, I can stop the hair loss. That was such a big deal for me at the time. I was obsessed, searching it all the time. Then I found Dr. Joe Dispenza and I read You Are a Placebo and started to really discover the nature of ourselves. And I started to meditate. I did. But one of the biggest things that changed it all for me and how I healed, I'm going to talk about firstly the hair loss. I've gone into it in the past, but I started to meditate and I started to consciously just without Dr. Joe's breath work, but I started to raise energy up to my head and feel it tingle. And the main thing that I did was I stopped looking in the mirror. I tried to break the habit of looking at it all the time. Well, as you can see, I'm here now. I've still got a full head of hair. Whether you think it's perfect or not, it doesn't matter. But it was a full head of hair, And then there was that one was big. So I was meditating, visualizing, sending love to my hair. Every time I washed my hair, I would love it back to life, and I would say thank you for every hair on my head, and I would feel the energy and the tingles in my head, and I would let it relax. I'd relax my scalp, wash my hair with love, breathe and lift up energy to the top of my head, let it tingle there. That was big, And here's the bigger one, and actually my wife is my little spiritual sage. When I left Jersey Boys, I still had the food issues and the chronic throat pain. When it came to the chronic throat pain, this was the big one. I had a great voice coach who had helped me called Barbara Houseman throughout my time, and she is an amazing coach. Worked with many great actors. Maybe I could have even put myself up there, but I was drawn to this, But anyway, the point being, much better actors than me. But so she said to me one day, she got me to sit and observe. And this before that I got really strong on the observation, but she got me to sit with the pain. And I just bawled my eyes out. And that's when I realized the pain was never structural, because I'd gone to all the doctors you could imagine. I'd spent tens of thousands on doctors to look down my throat and check it all and do this and do that. No answer. So for those of you that are sitting there without an answer, don't fear it. Actually see it as a brilliant gift that you haven't been given the voodoo curse. So I just observed it and I just bawled my eyes out. All the emotional pain that was there all this time that I just held on to. And so observation in that point was the key. It allowed me to unlock the emotions that were destroying me, holding me back. This is what I want to say to you guys, So that's why I realized, and now I look back, that observation was the key there. Now, here's one of the big things. When I left, I expected it to be gone, and it wasn't, and it was frustrating me. So for a few weeks, I was a bit frustrated because it was still there, but it did leave eventually. It did leave. I had unlocked it, but the body takes time to catch up. So breathing, observing, relaxing was how I got rid of that chronic pain. Now, when it came to my digestive issues, I remember being there and I'd found my now wife, and she was seeing all these weird tics in me still, but she didn't deter her, which was lovely. Like I used to do this with my tongue all the time. And because I just was always obsessed with my throat. But she started to not remind me when those were happening without being horrible, but so I would stop that, and observation and awareness again was the key. But when it came to the food, I remember one day I was like, I've had enough now, and I just got this big chia batter sandwich, and I'd read the Biology of Belief. I've been doing all these meditations, and one day I just decided, I was like, my body loves this food, it can eat this with ease, and actually I don't care what happens. Now obviously, this is just my experience. If you have celiac or other things, I'm not suggesting this at all, okay? But this was me with irritable bowel syndrome and intolerances to food, and I just observed that sandwich, and I in that moment of decision convinced my subconscious mind that this was good for me. And so as I ate that sandwich, it went, and I had never had any pain ever again, and I've eaten everything I've wanted ever since then. So this is the takeaway from what I've been telling you guys, okay? So there's 3 takeaways here. Okay. First thing is I started to understand how the body works. So I started to understand epigenetics, that my body has an infinite intelligence within it that knows how to heal. So I started to have faith in that healing inside, even in a little way. Then I started to take the actions of someone who wouldn't. In my position, how would someone who wasn't concerned about their hair loss act? They wouldn't be looking at their hair every day, would they? They wouldn't be checking if it's gone back every day. So I started to take action from it. This is the other steps. I started to observe the discomfort rather than fighting it, rather than trying to fight it. You know, like if you're ill, rather than trying to fight the symptoms, but detach back from them and observe them. I promise you this. And I haven't even gone into extreme detail of how down and out I was, you know, but observe it. So I observed the pain. I observe the pain and let it release. And the big one is like with the digestive issues, I made a decision. A strong decision, and I didn't deny it. And as I did it, I didn't fear the decision. These are the takeaways. So if you can decide to do this, get some understanding, start to detach back and observe and not be so embodied in your problems, then make a decision that you are fine and it's okay, and never turn back. This is what I want to tell you. This is how you're going to heal your body. This is how you're going to manifest anything in your life. I promise you this. So take this on board today and let me know if this was helpful in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next video, guys.